Discover how a hidden kiss from a poor girl transforms a millionaire actor's heart in 30 days. In the warm glow of the diner, Ella served steaming plates of homemade biscuits and gravy. The scent of fresh pies hung thick in the air, mixing with the joyful chatter of her small Midwestern town. At 24, her hands were calloused, her smile brighter than the sun shining through the windows. But underneath that smile, a heavy heart pulsed like a distant thunder. Just months ago, she lost her father, the anchor of their family. Now she was everything: waitress, caregiver, and sibling. Her mama could only manage soup and tears. Ella carried the weight of 2 younger siblings, pushing through shifts at the diner while juggling nights at the grocery store. A determination warmed her insides, but weariness often came knocking, casting shadows she'd rather not see. One rainy evening, as she handed over a slice of cherry pie, whispers swept through the diner. Jack, the heartthrob millionaire from Hollywood, had come to town. Leaving behind chaos and glare, he sought peace, a stark contrast to the garish lights of fame. Ella felt his presence like an electric shock. He was everything she didn't trust: wealth, privilege, and a life crafted from superficiality. Their eyes locked across the room, each seeing a world entirely different, a tension crackling in the air. As the annual town festival arrived, the crisp autumn air danced with twinkling lights, laughter echoing everywhere like a warm embrace. Ella was at her booth, crafting handmade charms for the children, her heart full of community love. Suddenly, Jack appeared, a curious spark in his eyes that dared her to let him in. Just behind the bustling booths, amidst fragrant balloons and laughter, they found a moment, a hidden kiss that ignited a spark neither expected, taking their breath away. In that fleeting instant, walls crumbled, revealing glimmers of understanding. Jack's world began to unravel before his eyes. The grinning townsfolk, Ella's unwavering strength. They all showed him something deeper than wealth connection. Every challenge she faced was a lesson, pushing him to confront his privileges and the biases he unknowingly held. But as unexpected eviction notices loomed over her modest home, he witnessed the heart of true resilience. The community rallied around her, neighbors stepping in with support, pouring love and kindness. Ella's struggle became a portrait of raw determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed like heartbeat thuds, echoing the pressure building inside of him. With Ella, he felt alive, yet so much fear surrounded him. It gnawed at his choices. Should he slip back into the life of glitz and glamour, or stand firm against the swirling current of Hollywood's judgment? As a ruthless developer threatened Ella's hometown, pushing for exploitation, Jack faced the reality of his heart. Would he sacrifice the superficial world he created for a love that demanded courage and vulnerability? The stakes rose. Silent gasps of townsfolk echoed around him, their future resting in his calloused hands. With every moment, hearts raced. Would they emerge victors, side by side, against the grind of expectations, or would this be the end before it even began? The question hung in the air, thick with anticipation, leaving Ella and Jack teetering on the edge of something profound, so close to a love that could transform everything, yet shrouded in uncertainty. The days melted into weeks as Jack found himself pulled deeper into Ella's world, a place so steeped in love and resilience. Each time he saw her manage her responsibilities, her determination reminded him of the simple joys he often overlooked in his glittering life. He would sneak away from his personal trainer and movie scripts, finding solace in the quiet bustling of the diner, where Ella worked her magic. With every slice of pie she served, every laughter shared, Jack felt a stirring in his heart, a yearning to fight for something real. They would sit together at closing time, warm cups of coffee in hand, sharing intimate stories. Ella told tales of her childhood, the laughter of her brothers, the way her father would whistle while fixing the roof. Jack's stories were woven with moments of stardom, but the more he shared, the more he realized how empty those flashbulb-filled nights truly were. Yet, the weight of his revelation was staggering. A split existed, a haunting fear that settled in whenever he considered confessing his feelings to Ella. Her strength fascinated him, but would she see him as an equal or as just another rich boy from Hollywood? He'd seen her fierce spirit glow, especially when she rallied her community against the developers' bulldozers promising to threaten their home. Did she dare dream of a life beyond the horizon, or was she too anchored down by her burdens? One crisp afternoon, the wind seemed to whisper the chaos that lay ahead. Jack had gathered a group of local artists, people whose lives could be upended by any moment the developer pressed forward. As they stood, surrounded by colorful canvas and vibrant stories, Jack felt the pulse of their ambitions and dreams. They fed off each other's hopes and wrapped themselves in the warmth of shared purpose. "I want to help," he said, voice rising above the chatter, sparks igniting in his chest. "Let us put on a show, an art fundraiser. We'll gather the community to showcase what we cherish about Havenwood." He glanced at Ella, hoping for a sign of approval, her brows furrowed, and, after a pause that felt suspended in time, she nodded slowly. "Yes, that's brilliant, Jack." There was a glimmer in her eyes, a flicker of belief that maybe, just maybe, they could stand against the tide. As laughter erupted, Jack felt like he was finally stepping into light. But then came the moment when the developer confronted them in front of the diner, a chilling fury in his voice about moving ahead regardless of the little people. Ella's resolve stiffened, and tears pooled in her eyes. She turned to Jack. "You won't abandon us, right? Not now, when we're finally fighting back." Jack's heart dropped. He had everything to lose, an empire built on fame and fortune, but now faced with the truth, he couldn't bear to let the fear stifle their budding love. "I swear to you, Ella, I won't turn my back. Not ever." But as the sun set behind the diner, enveloping him in shadows, doubts crept in. What would that promise cost him? Could he truly tear himself from the comfort of Hollywood and stand firm in the gritty fight before them? With the night air thick around them, both could feel the stakes rising like an unsettling tide. They weren't just fighting for property here. It was a fight for hope, love, and a future that could bloom if they dared to believe. As the moon cast its silvery glow, the plans unfolded, but the question lingered. Would Ella's fierce spirit and Jack's determination be enough to shield Havenwood from the claws of greed? In the stillness before dawn, their fate teetered, waiting just on the cusp of a challenge that could define them both. Days blended into a rhythm of hopeful chaos, as the community rallied around the idea of the art fundraiser. Jack felt a buzz of excitement and urgency every time he returned to the diner to plan the event. Ella became the anchor of their efforts, organizing artist meetups, spreading the word, and drawing in those who cherished Havenwood just as much as she did. Her laughter intertwined with the vibrant conversations, breathing life into the hopes of everyone around her. Yet, for each inch of progress, the looming threat of the developer's construction loomed heavier. Jack could see it weighing on Ella, the lines of worry etched deeper every day. One rainy evening, while they prepped flyers, Ella looked up from the paper, her blue eyes sparkling with determination. "We have to show them what this place really means," she said, her voice unwavering. "It's not just about buildings. It's about the heart of Havenwood." Jack admired her spirit, but with every moment spent beside her, the weight of his own truth settled like a stone in his gut. How could he tell her he wanted to be more than a fleeting figure in her life? Every laugh they shared felt like a thread stitching them together, and yet, he remained silent as the night of the fundraiser approached. Jack could feel the excitement reverberating in the air. All of Havenwood was buzzing, the art was hung, the food was prepped, and the community was ready to gather. There was a palpable sense of unity, a fierce determination to stand against the threat facing their beloved town. Jack took a deep breath and thought about the ties that bound him to this place. On the evening of the fundraiser, the diner transformed into a gallery of colors and creativity. People flowed in and out, admiring the art, each piece telling a story of hope and struggle. Jack stood at the entrance, welcoming guests with a smile that felt more genuine than any he had worn on a movie set. Ella moved gracefully through the crowd, her energy electrifying as she engaged everyone with her warmth. But amidst the laughter and chatter, the shadows of the developer's threat loomed. Jack glanced outside to see the dark silhouettes of bulldozers that had started to gather ominously by the edge of the diner's lot. Panic surged within him, but before he could voice his fears, Ella caught his eye. She was whispering to a group of artists, her hands gesturing animatedly. He noticed how those around her hung on her every word, inspired by her unyielding spirit. Suddenly, the air changed. Word swept through the crowd. A protest was organized for the following week, a march against the tyranny of greed. Ella's face lit up with hope. We can't let them take everything away. We have to fight. Jack felt a surge of pride for her courage, yet his heart raced for different reasons. With the world watching, he knew now was the moment. He had to tell her how he truly felt. But as the noise from outside seeped into the diner, he hesitated. Just as Jack was about to approach her, a hostile figure appeared in the doorway, the developer himself, flanked by two burly guards. The laughter inside died down, the atmosphere thickening with tension. Jack felt Ella stiffen beside him, her expression shifting from joy to a fierce resolve. "I'd advise you to pack it in, Jack. Your little art show won't save Havenwood," the developer sneered, his voice echoing ominously against the diner's walls. Ella's eyes flared with defiance as she stepped forward, challenging his looming presence. In that moment, everything felt suspended, the gathered crowd waiting for either hope or fear to lead the way. Jack's heart pounded in his chest. Here they were at the crossroads of destiny. Would he rise to the occasion and stand beside Ella? Could their budding love withstand the storm approaching the town? As the air crackled with uncertainty, Jack found himself teetering on the edge of a revelation, caught between his glamorous past and the raw truths of his present. The choice lay before him. Would he take the step that could irrevocably change everything? With the tension hanging thick, a single thought blared in his mind: if he couldn't answer that question now, the moment of truth might slip away forever. Jack felt heat rise in his cheeks as the developer's words settled like smoke in the room. Ella's determination radiated from her, but the developer's imposing figure threatened to dilute the hope that had gathered in the diner. He had to act. "Ella, wait," Jack called out, stepping forward, his voice breaking the heavy silence. His heart raced, each beat echoing louder than the last. "We can't give up. This is our home. We need to show him, we need to show everyone what Havenwood means to us." The developer scoffed, unimpressed. He exchanged glances with his guards, who shifted their weight, ready for any confrontation. "Sentimental nonsense," he replied, dismissing Jack outright. But Jack saw the flicker of fear in the eyes of the townsfolk, the whispers of uncertainty rippling through the crowd. Ella took a breath, then spoke up. "Maybe it's nonsense to you, but this town is built on love and community. We won't just sit by while you destroy it." Her voice rang clear and resolute, a sparkling beacon amidst the shadows. In that moment, Jack felt her fire ignite something within him. He had spent so long chasing the glimmer of Hollywood lights, but it was Ella and her passion that truly captivated him. "Let us stand together, all of us. The art, the stories, everything we've created, it matters." His voice gained strength, and he looked at the crowd. "Let us show him we're not afraid to fight back." The air in the diner shifted. Murmurs of agreement began to swell, mixing with renewed energy. Jack could see Ella's hope igniting the flickering flames in their hearts. The diner transformed not just into an art show, but now a gathering of warriors for their beloved town. As the developer stepped back, his expression hardening, Jack felt a newfound sense of purpose. The crowd began to chant, their voices rising in unity. "Protect Havenwood! Protect Havenwood!" And then, amidst the chaos, Jack turned to Ella. Her blue eyes sparkled, not just with strength but warmth. He stepped closer, adrenaline overtaking his hesitation. "Ella," he started, but the words tangled in his throat. The clamor surrounded them, a storm brewing, and Jack suddenly realized how intense the moment was, how everything hinged on this thin thread of connection. Before he could lose the moment, he closed the distance between them, hand trembling, and whispered, "I want to fight for us as much as I fight for this town." Her eyes widened for a brief moment, surprise mixing with hope. Just as it seemed she might respond, the developer's voice cut through again. "You can fight all you want, but it won't change the end. Havenwood is mine." In that second, everything felt as if it were hanging on a precipice. Jack's heart quickened, knowing this was a pivotal moment, one that could either bind them closer or shatter their burgeoning feelings. Ella's gaze flickered between Jack and the looming threat of the developer, her determination unyielding, but uncertainty reared its head. With the crowd roaring behind them, tension hanging like fog, Jack took a leap. He leaned in, capturing her attention fully. "Together, we can show them they're wrong. This is about so much more than just buildings." Ella nodded, a glimmer of unspoken understanding passing between them. Just as he dared to lean in closer, the developer interrupted again, his sneer a chilling reminder of the stakes. "You're wasting your time, both of you. But fine, bring your little protest. It'll just make my victory that much sweeter." Ella clenched her fists, but Jack could see a flicker of fear behind her eyes. The stakes were higher than ever, and in that moment, the clock was ticking toward their protest, where they would either reclaim Havenwood or watch it slip away forever. Jack took a deep breath. He knew what he had to do, but would the courage he felt within be enough to stand firm against the storm brewing around them? The moment was their breaking point, but how would they navigate the chaos to come? Would love emerge from the fray, or would all they fought for become just another memory swept away by demolition? The morning sun dipped through the gritty windows of the diner, casting light on the hushed faces that filled the room. The tension hovered thick in the air, a storm of emotion waiting to break. Jack stood with Ella at the center of it all, the energy pulsing around them like a heartbeat. As the chants of "Protect Havenwood" reverberated, Jack felt a surge of hope. But a part of him remained unsettled. How could they challenge someone as powerful as the developer? The idea of protest felt both exhilarating and terrifying. He turned to Ella, her vibrant spirit a contrast to the shadows creeping over the diner. "What's the plan?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, but charged with urgency. Ella took a breath, her gaze steady. "We rally everyone," she declared, determination filling her every word. "This town deserves to be heard. We need art, faces, voices, our stories." Jack nodded, feeling her passion seep into him. "We share our memories, don't we? The heart and soul of Havenwood." "Yes." "They need to see that we're not just a line on a blueprint." Her fiery iron resolve ignited the collective spirit of the crowd. People were nodding, murmuring, and Jack saw it, belief building like a wall around them. Amidst the fervor, Ella started to sketch names on a napkin. "Let's reach out to the local press. Get social media buzzing. This isn't just our town. It's our family." Jack couldn't help but smile as he watched her, overwhelmed by her zeal. She wasn't just fighting for Havenwood. She was fighting for their shared dreams. "We need to show them what they're dealing with, a community." The energy shifted, transformed. Hands shot up, townsfolk eager to contribute. Ideas flew. They talked about gathering photos, letters, and artwork that showcased the heartbeat of their town. Just then, a silence fell as the developer's guards readied for a confrontation. Jack's heart dropped. He felt the fright of uncertainty creep in, threatening to snuff out their fire. But not for long. "We're ready," a voice rang out, breaking through the cloud of dread. "We're on our way to building something bigger than just brick and mortar." Another voice joined, then another, until a wave of affirmation washed over the diner. Ella leaned closer to Jack, excitement radiating from her. "We'll need to organize a night at the fairgrounds," she suggested with a spark in her eyes. "An exhibition. Let everyone's art shine." Jack felt a warmth spread through him, holding her gaze longer than he intended. "And we'll show him that love and unity are more powerful than money," he replied, the tug of connection between them undeniable as the crowd clapped and cheered. Jack felt the weight of it all settle. There was more at stake now than just Havenwood. It was their bond, too. But doubt whispering in the back of his mind nagged at Jack. What if they couldn't succeed? What if this fell apart? He had never been a risky person. Taking chances was a foreign concept. Yet, at that moment, he realized that perhaps the biggest risk lay in silence and complacency. That he focused on Ella again. Somehow, beyond the goal of saving the town, her presence grounded him. It wasn't just about an exhibition. It was about stepping out, supporting one another, and taking this leap together. The diner erupted again in fervor. Yet Jack remained still for a heartbeat longer, caught in the gravity of Ella's gaze. What if we don't just unite for one night? He murmured. What if we make this a movement? If we're going to do it, let us do it together. No holding back, Ella said, her voice buoyant, igniting a spark of madness in his chest. As they gripped each other's hands, Jack felt the tremor of possibility. Yet, beneath that excitement, a tightening seed of fear unsheathed. Would love find a way amidst this chaos? Just as they exchanged lingering glances, a figure burst through the door, a young girl, her eyes wide and pleading. You have to help my mom. They're shutting us down. Jack felt a cold wave wash over him, as the reality of their battle edged closer, inviting him into the unknown. Would their movement be enough to not just save Havenwood, but perhaps transform their lives forever? The diner fell into a stunned silence, the young girl's frantic plea echoing in Jack's mind. He could barely comprehend the magnitude of her words. Shutting them down? Just like that? The weight of her urgency pressed down on him, making the air feel thicker, almost suffocating. Ella's grip on his hand tightened, and he glanced at her. Her eyes were bright with a fierce determination, the kind that rekindled Jack's resolve. What's your name? Ella asked gently, kneeling down to the girl's level. Lily, she replied, her voice trembling as tears welled in her eyes. They're gonna take our home and my mom. She is sick. We can't move. Please, you have to help. Jack's heart sank. The thought of someone's home being ripped away felt like a dagger to his chest. He knelt beside Ella, looking into Lily's tear-streaked face. We won't let that happen, Lily. We're going to fight. We have to rally everyone. Lily sniffled, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. But how? They're so powerful. My dad tried. He lost his job when he spoke out. I don't want to lose my mom too. Jack's stomach twisted at the girl's words. Losing a job, losing a home. It was too much. But as he looked at Lily, he knew he couldn't let fear dictate their next move. You're not alone, he said softly. We're all here for you. We'll show them we're stronger together. Ella straightened, turning to the crowd that had gathered around them. Listen, everyone. Lily's family needs us. We can't just sit here while they try to tear us apart. Who's with me? Murmurs filled the diner again, this time spurring a rising tide of voices. Jack felt his energy shifting. They couldn't just save Havenwood. They couldn't just save Lily's home. They had to save each other. A man in the back shot his hand up. I'll help. My sister lost her business to those same developers. We can share our stories. More hands followed, each face a canvas of determination and hope. Jack couldn't believe how quickly it was happening. United, they were more than just a town. They were a family willing to fight for one another. Ella was a whirlwind of action, grabbing napkins and pens, urging everyone to write down their stories, their fears, their dreams. Jack joined in, fueled by an adrenaline he hadn't known he possessed. Each word poured out, capturing pieces of their shared lives, the laughter, the heartache, and the resilience as they began to collect their thoughts. A sense of urgency mingled with excitement. They would turn this moment into a movement. Jack shared a story about his childhood, the summer fairs and pies that brought everyone together. Ella spoke passionately about the murals her mother painted, stories waiting to be unleashed upon the world. Lily, now encouraged by their words, began to scribble her own feelings on a scrap of paper. I want them to know we're still here, she said, her voice stronger as she shared her hopes for her family in front of the gathering crowd. The diner buzzed with the cacophony of voices, laughter, and determination. Fear and doubt melted away as they fueled each other's fire. But still, Jack noticed the shadows of concern flickering in corners. What if they got backlash? What if they failed? Letting out a breath, he hushed the anxious thoughts. This was about more than just surviving. This was about creating a legacy for generations to come. With their stories collected and the energy rising, Ella turned to them. We need to plan a rally for Friday night at the fairgrounds. We'll invite everyone in Havenwood and beyond. Let us show the world who we are. The collective cheers erupted, soaring above the din of the diner. Jack felt a spark of joy, the realization that this wasn't just a protest. This was an awakening. But as they began to disperse, Jack's thoughts raced. Could they really make a difference? Just then, the bell of the diner chimed, and the door creaked open again. This time it was a figure in a suit with a familiar silhouette. Jack's heart raced. It was the developer's right-hand man. A smirk etched across his face. What's this? A town meeting without me? He drawled, eyes scanning the crowd before landing back on Jack. Instinctively, Jack straightened, ready to defend their dream. This was it. Would they rise to confront the very threat that could shatter their newfound hope? As the figure stepped further inside, tension crackled in the air, and Jack realized this moment could change everything. The smirk widened on the developer's right-hand man, Carter, and the laughter that followed felt like shards of ice piercing through their moment of unity. Jack's heart thundered as he shifted between anger and defiance. You think you can just come in here and disrupt us? Jack called out, unable to contain the fire burning in him. Carter chuckled softly, running a hand through his slicked-back hair. Disrupt? I think you're a bit overdramatic. But keep playing dress-up as David against Goliath. It's cute. Jack clenched his fists. He could feel the heat surrounding him, the crowd's nervous energy shifting into something darker. Ella stepped forward, her voice calm but steady. What do you want? Carter? Havenwood isn't for sale. Carter's eyes sparkled with a taunting glint. Oh, but it is. You just don't see the big picture. We're offering advancement, renovation. Lily's family will be happier with a shiny new complex than clinging to dusty old memories. Lily's face crumbled at his words. Jack noticed the tremor in her lip and instantly felt protective, wrapping an arm around Ella's waist. They needed to take a stand. Those memories are what make Havenwood home, Jack replied, his voice rising despite attempts to keep it steady. They're not just buildings or business. They are lives, laughter, and love. You can't bulldoze that. The diner erupted in murmurs, each person feeding off Jack's conviction. He could see determination drawn firm on their faces, with more attending to every word spoken by Ella and him. Carter leaned against the counter, unfazed by the growing tension. You really think a rally is going to change anything? This isn't about the stories you share. It's about power and money. It's about our community. Jack pierced back, the crowd responding with nods and murmurs of agreement. It's about standing together when we're threatened. You may have money, but we have heart. Then, Carter lowered his voice, laced with insincerity. How noble. But you'll soon learn that hearts don't pay bills, Jack. Enjoy your little rally, but when the dust settles, you'll see how powerless you truly are. The tension in the diner thickened, an anxious fog closing in. Jack felt the adrenaline rush through him. He knew they were at a crossroads. Felt like a fragile glass ball hanging between them. Would it break or bounce? Let us see who stands strong when the night arrives, Jack challenged, locking eyes with Carter. The crowd stirred, sensing the shift of energy, the way it crackled with fierce resolve. As Carter's smirk faltered just a bit, Jack felt a spark of hope kindling. The people were here and they were ready to fight. Carter, we'll meet you at the fairgrounds, Ella added, her voice steady and fierce. You'll see how united we are. Carter straightened, the smugness edging back, but there was a flicker of uncertainty as he turned and walked out of the diner. The moment he left, Jack took a deep breath, wiping sweat from his brow. They had made a statement, but now the hard part loomed ahead. They had to prepare a rally that truly resonated, that captured all their hopes and dreams. All right, Ella said, rallying the troops. We have work to do. Jack looked around, revved with determination. They needed signs, speakers to spread the word. They needed every voice amplified. No matter what happens, Jack began, let us remember who we are, what we stand for. This isn't just about Lily or her family. It's about every voice that has been silenced. Cheers erupted anew. But with each cheer, doubt gnawed at the edges of his mind. Were they really ready for what was to come? As they busted into action, his heart still pounded with trepidation. The relay of plans was like threading fragile strings across a vast canyon. Would they hold? But amidst the storm of activity, Jack felt a knot in his stomach tighten. He glanced around, seeing the energy shift and rise. But that small voice whispered again, what if they weren't as powerful as they believed? The door swung open once more. Jack's breath caught as he saw familiar faces enter, friends and families. He did not expect. They weren't just a buzz in the back of the diner. They were fighters. But then, there it was, another figure just behind them. A shadow that should not have been present, and it filled the small space with an unbearable tension. Could this turn the tide? What would happen when the last face turned from the door, revealing the unexpected ally or the foe that could crush their fragile hope? The whispers began to swirl in the diner like a summer wind stirring dead leaves. Everyone turned to see who else had entered. The familiar faces of their friends offered a warm relief. But that one shadow looming at the door held Jack's breath captive. When the last figure stepped in, Jack's heart sank. It was Rachel, his childhood friend who had left Havenwood in pursuit of a big city job. But it was her strikingly elegant presence that sent a ripple of anxiety through the small diner. She had always been the embodiment of ambition, the kind of person everyone admired and maybe even envied. What are you doing back here, Rachel? Ella's voice pierced through the thickening tension, cutting straight to the chase. Rachel scanned the room, her sharp eyes finally landing on Jack. I heard about what's happening, and I couldn't just stand by. I'm here to help. Jack's heart fluttered. Hope surged and crashed inside him like waves against rocky cliffs. But he couldn't shake that nagging discomfort. Rachel was now a successful marketing executive, and Carter's inner circle could be worth her consideration. You're back for the rally? Really? He asked, skepticism creeping into his tone. I'm serious, she insisted, stepping closer with a determination that was contagious. I want to help save Havenwood. This place holds so many memories for me. My parents still live here. The crowd began to gather around her. Each whispered conversation between friends and neighbors betrayed their curiosity mixed with hope. Rachel had always had a knack for bringing people together, and her return felt like a beacon in the dark. What do you have in mind? Jack asked, suddenly more intrigued than defensive. She smiled, that old familiar smile that reminded him of breezy school days and youthful laughter. I've got connections. We can mobilize social media, create an event that draws attention. We can make them see Havenwood isn't just a dollar sign. It's home. The murmurs swelled. Jack could see excitement sparking in the eyes of the crowd. But there was also an undercurrent of disbelief. Could Rachel really bridge their small-town charm with the merciless machine of modern business? We can do this together, Rachel said, her voice amplified by the hope around her. But we'll have to act fast. Carter wait. He'll swoop in once he thinks we're vulnerable. Jack took a deep breath. All right, then let us make a plan. Ella steadied her gaze on Jack while taking Rachel's hand. You see, this is just the start. Rally, fundraise, engage our community. We can turn this into something they can't ignore. As they brainstormed, Jack felt the fire rekindling in his chest, pulling him away from his doubts. They plotted fiercely, voices overlapping in a thrilling fusion of ideas that made the diner echo with laughter and vision. But as the night wore on, Jack noticed Rachel's gaze drift occasionally to the diner's old photographs lining the walls. He caught a glimpse of longing there, perhaps even regret. Rachel, he ventured, as the noise settled into easy chatter. What brought you back? After all this time? For a moment she hesitated. The spark in her eyes dimmed as if dredging up memories that were bittersweet. I thought I could outrun my past, she said softly. But Havenwood, it never really left me. Jack exchanged looks with Ella. There was something deeper simmering beneath Rachel's brave facade, a tension that hinted at unresolved feelings. Suddenly, the diner's phone rang, cutting through the soft murmur of their plans. Jack moved to answer it, wondering what news could come next. Who could that be? Ella asked, her brow furrowed. Jack lifted the receiver, his heart racing again. Hello? The voice on the other end was familiar, but the tone was anything but welcoming. Jack, this is Carter. We need to talk. Jack's breath quickened as an uneasy knot tightened in his stomach. What did Carter want now? Would this be the end of their rally before it even began? Meet me at the fairgrounds. Carter's voice continued, calm yet cold. You know the stakes. And I have something that might interest you. Jack's heart raced. Would this be a final stand? Or had they underestimated Carter's next move? As he hung up, uncertainty cloaked him. He glanced around at the faces lit by hope and yet shadowed by fear. Tomorrow could change everything. What could Carter really have in store? Voices of strength surged through Jack's mind, but the daunting specter of possible failure lingered. Could they truly unite a community before it was too late? Jack hung up the phone, his fingers trembling slightly as the weight of Carter's words settled into his chest. The diner's warm atmosphere faded, replaced by a thick air of uncertainty that wrapped around his thoughts like an inescapable fog. He scanned the room, searching for comfort in familiar faces, but instead found an unsettling mix of hope and dread mirrored in their expressions. Jack? What's wrong? Rachel stepped forward, her voice laced with concern. His throat tightened as he tried to find the right words. Carter wants to meet. At the fairgrounds. The words felt heavy as they fell, leaving a heavy silence in their wake. Ella shifted nervously in her seat. What could he want and why there? It's where everything is at stake, Jack replied, the gravity of his situation hanging like a storm cloud over them. Are you going to meet him? Rachel asked, her eyes narrowing slightly. You can't just walk in unprepared. Jack nodded, uneasiness coursing through him. I'll have to. Whatever he has could change everything for Havenwood. But what if he tries to manipulate you? Ella interjected, her voice rising with worry. We can't afford to lose our leader right now. A rush of adrenaline surged in him at the thought of meeting Carter, the man who had always been one step ahead, who had money and power at his disposal. Yet Jack's resolve hardened. I'll take someone with me. I'm not going into this alone. Rachel stepped closer, her presence almost grounding him. Let me come. I know how to read people. And besides, I might have some ideas on how to handle him. Jack felt a swell of gratitude. He nodded, knowing deep down that her experience in the big city might give them an edge. All right, we'll prepare. We can't go in blind. As they dove into strategy discussions, the tension in the diner began to recede, replaced by determined chatter. They spoke in earnest, voices rising with ideas that painted a vivid tapestry of hope. Jack felt reinvigorated, the plan taking shape as laughter broke through the anxiety. Rachel's infectious enthusiasm ignited a spark in everyone, including him. Later that night, as they stepped outside the diner, Jack stole a glance at Rachel under the soft glow of the streetlights. The air was crisp, a chilling reminder of the uncertainty looming ahead. Where did you learn to be so fearless? He asked, surprised by the sincerity in his voice. Rachel chuckled, the sound light and warm. Fear has always been there, but overcoming it feels like finding home again. For a moment, their eyes met, and everything else faded into the background. But the moment shattered when a car horn honked, reminding them of realities they couldn't escape. Jack shifted his focus back, a bittersweet feeling settling in. The connection they shared, potent and electric, felt bittersweet against the storm they were heading into. Just be careful, okay? Jack said, hesitating for a second before continuing. Carter plays dirty. Yes, he does, but we'll outsmart him together. Rachel's determination was evident, a counterbalance to his fear. As dawn neared, he felt a surge of determination. Whatever was waiting for him at the fairgrounds, he wasn't facing it alone. Then, just before parting ways, Jack received a text. He looked down, his heart plummeting. "It's from Carter," he said, dread flooding back. "What does it say?" Ella asked, anxiety creeping into her voice. "He says he knows something about Havenwood's past that might change everything." Jack's heart raced as he processed the chilling implication. What could Carter possibly know that they didn't? And how could it alter the fate of their town? As he looked back at Rachel and Ella, the questions loomed larger than life. Who was Carter really? And what game was he playing amidst the fragile threads of their lives? Tomorrow would be the beginning, or it could mark their end. The truth awaited, hidden like a shadow over Havenwood. What dark secrets was Carter ready to unveil? At the break of dawn, the fairgrounds pulsed with energy. The sun crested on the horizon like a golden promise, illuminating faces filled with hope and determination. Jack stood at the center of it all, the weight on his shoulders heavier than ever. Ella was by his side, her presence grounding. The town had come together, but uncertainty gnawed at him, a reminder of Carter's chilling threat. "Lily's family will be here," Ella said quietly, squeezing Jack's hand. "They're counting on us." He nodded, raking a hand through his hair. The echoes of laughter and excited voices enveloped them. But in his mind, the shadows of what lay ahead loomed large. "Remember, it's not just about the homes," Jack said, looking into Ella's reassuring eyes. "It's about our dreams, our community. We fight for every single story here." As the townsfolk gathered, each voiced their reasons for their presence. Standing beside them were families entwined with the fabric of Havenwood, each face lit by the promise of solidarity. The gentle breeze swept through the fairgrounds, rustling brightly colored banners that flapped with hope. Jack felt a stirring in his heart, fueled by the people who rallied behind him. They were all here together, ready to embrace change. Then came Rachel, her confident strides parting the crowd. "Jack," she called out, her voice slicing through the chatter. He turned, his heart skipping as she approached with purpose. "I've got a plan for our meeting with Carter. We need to show that our community is more than just a number on a financial report." She pulled out flyers they had designed overnight, pictures of families, art, and history lining the edges. "These tell our story. We must be visible, loud, and proud. They can't bulldoze memories." Ella's eyes lit up. "We need to set up our display. Let people share their stories with the press." Jack could feel the tide of anticipation rising. They launched into action, hearts synchronized as they set the stage for their stand against the looming threat. As the crowd thickened, Jack stepped to the front, adrenaline coursing. "Everyone," his voice boomed, cutting through the noise. The murmurs faded, and all eyes turned to him. "Today we make our stand. We protect Havenwood, not just for ourselves but for every single soul tied to this ground." Cheering erupted raw, powerful, a wave of unity. The community around him pulsed with hope. Even Lily stood in the front, eyes bright with determination, despite her small frame. Just then, Jack spotted the familiar figure of Carter emerging from a distance, flanked by guards. An uneasy silence settled over the crowd. The energy shifted, thick with anticipation, fear sparking like static in the air. "Everyone stay focused," Jack whispered to Ella and Rachel, grounding himself. He could see the confidence falter briefly in the eyes of his friends, but he took their hands. "No matter what he says, we're here for each other. This is our home." With firm strides, Carter approached. "So, Jack," he called, his voice dripping with mockery. "This little gathering, it's cute, but do you really think it changes anything?" Jack stepped forward, meeting his cold gaze head-on. "We're not backing down, Carter. Havenwood is more than land to be sold." Laughter rippled through the gathered townsfolk. Jack felt heartbeats sink, like the town was breathing as one. Carter leaned in closer, his voice low and laced with a threat. "You may think you're part of something bigger, but without funds you won't go far. It's time to face reality, Jack. I know the land here holds secrets, and I have proof that could crumble your little movement." A collective gasp echoed among the crowd. Jack's pulse quickened. What secrets? What could Carter possibly know? But instead of yielding to fear, Jack felt a newfound resolve harden within him. "Let us hear it then. Share your secrets," Jack challenged, the energy radiating from the audience feeding him. Carter smirked, momentarily encountering defiance. All right, but you may want to buckle up. The past is about to resurface, Jack. But Jack cleared his throat, lifting his chin high. No matter what you say, these people won't be quieted. Havenwood is a place full of stories, life, and love. Secrets 1T divide us. They will only strengthen our resolve. The crowd surged with cheers, rising like a tide, and Jack felt a sense of empowerment wrapping around them. They were standing not just against a developer, but inviting their shared history into the light. Enough of this mind game. Ella broke in, her voice steady as she faced Carter. Let us show you what Havenwood truly means. Let us stand together for our future. Jack yelled, the crowd igniting behind him, voices lifting in a chorus of resistance. Carter faltered, for the first time seeing the raw strength of their united front. Go ahead, roar your little songs of defiance, he muttered, perhaps a bit intimidated now, but fear flickered in his eyes. Jack could see it, the realization that Havenwood had power, more powerful than money. With smoldering conviction, Jack lifted his voice. Havenwood is family, no matter what, and together we rise. In that very moment something transformed. The crowd surged forth, and suddenly the mingled voices transcended barriers, forging a pact against the greed that threatened them all. As hope soared, Jack turned to find Ella by his side, her fierce spirit reflecting in her vibrant eyes. He knew right then they were creating history, not just defending a home, but reclaiming their narrative. The echoes of laughter rang clear, weaving a tapestry of love and resilience. The stakes were monumental, but with every heartbeat, they were rewriting their story. And among the bonds strengthened in that moment, Jack felt something more, a connection to Ella blooming, igniting in the face of danger and uncertainty. In that sacred space, amid the pulsing crowd, they vowed not to merely survive, but to flourish together. The confrontation at the fairgrounds had ignited fires in their hearts that would never go out. No threat could extinguish the fervor of hope or the unwavering spirit of a community fueled by love. United, they forged a path ahead. And as Jack and Ella exchanged one last look filled with the promise of what was to come, he knew they were not just fighting for Havenwood. They were fighting for each other. The future was unwritten, but one thing was clear. They were ready to embrace it together. Now was the moment of transformation, the defining turning point. So to everyone who felt the pulse of this story and believed in the mighty force of community and love, make your voices heard. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support this journey. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand the importance of lifting each other up.